My name is Nick Vavis. I'm setting out on a journey through the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. My goal? To visit 8 parishes in one day and show you why we live in a city of churches. In case you missed it, here's my journey thus far. I began my day by visiting St. James Cathedral, the Bishop's Church, before making my way to nearby St. Boniface. I then took a trip into Queens to visit Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Astoria, Our Lady Queen of Martyrs in Forest Hills, and Our Lady of Snows in Floral Park. I then left Queens and headed back to Brooklyn. Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me again. Now, I just got back to Brooklyn, and it was a pretty long ride from Floral Park, Queens, almost an hour in the subway, but that's okay. It gave me a chance to take a quick power nap, to get re-energized for the last leg of my journey. 3 more churches to go, and the first one up is St. John the Baptist. Come on. Now, St. John the Baptist has a pretty interesting story. From the outside, it's a remarkably large church, but on the inside, it's a little bit smaller. A lot of the areas inside the church have been closed off, and you'll notice a box has been built inside the actual church, kind of like a church within a church. Now, Father Joseph Agostino, the church pastor, is waiting inside to show me around, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see some of the closed off areas to get a sense of the grandeur of the original church design.
See how this is a structure within the church building. The ceiling is dropped and the walls were built. But let's start with this window.
Okay.
Because this is kind of a symbol of who we are here at St. John's. St. Vincent de Paul was the founder of the Congregation of the Mission of the Vincentians who founded this parish. We were invited by Bishop Lachlan, and we were the first religious order to come to Brooklyn when it was first formed as a diocese. We think this is a Tiffany window.
Really?
We're looking, researching it, trying to find out for sure, but a lot of experts have told us that they believe it is Tiffany. And we have our founder, Vincent de Paul, and behind him, St. Louise de Marillac, who founded with Vincent the Daughters of Charity, who also serve here. So this is a Vincentian parish, and that window symbolizes our work, especially with the poor.
And this window's unique from the other windows.
It's a different style.
This could be a Tiffany, it's a different style.
So my guess is it was added much later than when the church was built in 1888.
Okay.
And this altar here is an altar to St. Vincent. And from what my understanding was, when the diocese was making the decision what to do with this building, it was Bishop McGovern's love for Vincent and particularly this altar and that window that made him decide not to tear the building down.
To preserve this one? Okay. So this would all be the original then, going back to
1888.
1888, when it was first constructed?
Yes. Okay. And then this window here is another Vincentian window. He is Gabriel Purboire, who was a Vincentian missionary to China. And he died a martyr's death and was crucified in China. So that image, that's a window in honor of him.
It's beautiful artwork. Would that be similar to what we're seeing here?
Exactly.
In terms of the style?
Same exact
when it was
style.
constructed. What are we seeing in this one?
This is an image of the agony in the garden. It seems like in the time in which this church was built, there was a focus on the agony, and also death of Christ was very prominent in the spirituality of the folks at that time.
So that's a theme we would see recurring as we walk around?
Yes.
Agony. Okay. It's beautiful.
This is the 3rd church that we've had as a parish. The first was the original farmhouse, and then in 1869 they built a wooden church that sat 800 people. This crucifix came from that wooden church. Wow. And when they built this church, they brought that crucifix into this building, and that's the only thing that we have still from the second church.
So where was this before the box was constructed?
Before the box was constructed,
this first
it was in the corner on the floor.
Okay, and then they moved it up to the wall.
Then we put it up to the wall about 5 years ago.
When was the first church you said was a farmhouse?
The first church was a farmhouse.
But it was the same parish who moved into the second church that was rebuilt?
Yes.
And then this is the 3rd church.
And actually, the first church name was Mary of the Isles.
Mary of the Isles.
Yes. And then when this church was dedicated in 1888, the name of the parish was changed to St. John the Baptist in honor of Bishop John Laughlin, who invited the Vincentians in. John the Baptist was his patron.
I noticed the Stations of the Cross, too, you have everywhere. 14 all around?
They're all around, and they were redone for this reconstruction. The original Stations of the Cross, you cannot see, would be on the other side of the drop ceiling, and they were huge paintings.
So they're actually above, what I'm seeing here,
They're
above the
line. Yes.
above the drop ceiling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame that
It
those are
is.
hidden.
It is, and there's no
That's a
way to
shame.
bring them down
You
at this
cannot?
point in time, no.
Are they installed? Is that
They're
why
pretty
they're
much,
currently
yeah.
installed? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wish we could see that.
This is the statue of Mary. It's the Immaculate Conception. This is the image behind her of the miraculous medal and the apparition to Catherine Labouré. Catherine Labouré was the daughter of Charity, so this is a devotion that's promoted heavily by the Vincentians.
Very nice.
And as you can see, these are more of the same style of stained glass windows.
This one that's missing, what happened with that?
When we had the fire in April, the firemen broke that window in
Wow.
order to vent the church. We were very lucky because the fire stopped right before a major airspace that would have damaged the main structure of
That
the
was
church.
the fire that was in the sacristy?
Yes.
So it actually, the smoke was filling this much of it, I'm
Yes.
guessing, right?
Yes.
They had to break the window.
But thank God that's all we lost in the church itself.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have brought down the whole window,
Oh,
and that would have been
That would have been
devastating.
really sad.
And so again, these are all the same, as far as you know, the same
Same style, same
style, same time period?
Yes. My understanding is that these are from the original from 1888.
Were they smoke damaged after the fire?
Thank
Did you have to
God, no.
clean them? No? It was preserved? That's good.
And this is the Sacred Heart altar that we referred to on the other side. The pulpit used to be on stairs underneath that light. And when the church was redone, they took the steps off of it because it would have been too big for the space as it was reconstructed. And this pulpit has along the top here the motto of the Vincentian community in Latin. To
Which
preach
is?
the gospel to the poor he has sent me, with the four evangelists. And this is the on the seal of the congregation. So it has a lot of history for the Vincentians. But to give you a sense of how grand the church was before they did this, let me show you the back and the old main altar, which is still intact.
Okay. Wow. Look at this. That's
Isn't it
incredible. That is phenomenal.
What I was told was that when they built this was done after the church was first begun in 1888. I believe it was around the turn of the century that they actually began the construction of this altar. And they had to reinforce the floor because this is all solid
It's so
marble.
heavy? Really?
And it took them quite a number of years to finish the actual construction of it. The angels are magnificent. Actually, I had some
Amazing,
men
it's
come to me,
amazing.
they wanted to buy an angel. I said,
So-
no.
oh, no?
We want to leave this intact.
You're preserving all this?
Definitely. This is the heritage of the parish.
What is
So,
it used for now? I mean, is it really just
As you
here
can see,
to-
we're just here for storage. The dream of our people is one day that we'll be able to knock the wall down and restore this to the parish. And please God, one day we'll be able to do that. An interesting story is when they were building the bunker, as they've called it,
the bunker?
this
Like we're in a
wall,
war zone.
the original architect wanted to make that wall glass so that
So you
the
could see
people
through.
could still see.
And
It was too prohibitive in cost, so they
Okay.
decided to do this very simple brick wall instead.
Okay.
But the expanse of all of this with the paintings all around and the statues even above them, it's just absolutely phenomenal. You can tell it was a different era in which this was built.
Right.
Back in the days when it was farmland, it was basically an Irish and German population, pretty well off. They used to fill the church with over 1,000 people for every
Really?
mass. In the 60s, the population began to change. The projects were built around us, and Bed-Stuy became poor. And because of that, so were our finances were affected, and the ability of the parish to maintain the structure was greatly affected by that. The windows were broken, the roof was leaking, and the diocese had to make the decision what to do with the structure. And they went back and forth for a number of years. They thought about tearing it down.
Really?
They thought about restoring it completely, but if they did that, they felt the parish would never be able to heat it or keep it painted.
So the upkeep would have been enormous, the cost.
Exactly,
Right.
and there was no way we could have done that. So then they came up with the idea of doing this bunker, so to
The
speak.
bunker.
And they did a really great job preserving the architectural integrity of the space that we use, so that you had that blend of the old and the new done really well, I think. But it was really because of those economic factors that we had to do this. And what it created was a worship space that's dynamic. The parish is vibrant. We are 60% Hispanic, 40% mostly Caribbean American.
Right.
And our Sunday celebrations are full of life and vitality. It's just
Really?
a wonderful worship experience. And I think part of it is created not only from the culture of our people, Nick, but also from the space that we have. There's an intimacy to it that a lot of other places would be lacking that are longer and further from the altar.
Right.
Everybody's very close to the altar in the way that the space is currently configured. It's an amazing thing because people look at this and they say, what a shame.
Yeah.
They think,
Well,
the
I thought
parish
that.
is-
It
Yeah,
is what a shame.
And it is to some extent. But this is not the reality of who we are. I mean, the parish is still vibrant, even though we're poor, even though we're different ethnically. It is still a very vibrant parish community, and that's just a wonderful reality.
And this is all symbolic,
Very
which
much
is why
so.
you wouldn't want to tear it down or sell it off or any of those
Very
things,
much
right?
so. And if we could ever restore it to our people, we will.
So is that the future for like this whole area? The hope
That's
is
our
to.
prayer.
So
Yes.
what's preventing it? I mean, obviously financially. Is there anything else that stops it from being reconstructed, revamped? I mean, is it just money?
I would
that's
say money
hindering
would be the major factor.
it? Yeah.
There's another element, though. When you're out in that space, it's a wonderful worship experience because there's an intimacy to it because it is so contained.
Right.
Part of my own fear would be losing that intimacy for the sake of history.
Was any of this affected by the fire in the sacristy? This area back
This
here?
area was smoked. The
was smoke.
sacristy is right on the other side of the doors there, so it was heavy smoke.
So some
back
smoke
here,
damage?
yeah. And lighting, of course. We don't have all the lights up yet in this area.
It's amazing history. And so you don't come back here for any particular reason? I mean, you're showing me this area. Is this off limits to parishioners if they want to see what's happening back here?
Pretty much, people don't come in and out through
No,
here.
huh? Okay.
Nick, I was talking to you in the back about the intimate feeling, and you can see with the
Yeah.
pews and everything, it really brings everything so tightly together.
Right.
Another part of the cultural reality is if you look at the choir.
Yeah. It's not what
don't
you see everywhere.
The traditional
No.
pipe organ. We have a full band that plays for both our English and Spanish masses, and it just adds a whole vibrancy and life to the worship experience for the parish.
Boy, I'd love to hear the choir play. I'll have to
Oh,
come back
they're
on Sunday. Are they great?
definitely- They're awesome.
Yeah.
They are really awesome.
It's good music.
Very
So
much
that
so.
replaces the pipe organ, which we'd normally see or expect in most churches.
Yes. Although, when the church was built in 1888, of course, there was a pipe organ, and that's in the old part of the back of the church, which is
that
not being
preserved?
used. It is.
It's still
It's
preserved?
still mostly intact. I'd like to show it to you if you'd like
Yeah,
to
if we can
see
get
it.
back there.
Sure.
I'd love to.
It's back this way.
Okay.
You can see how big the pipe organ is.
Mm-hmm.
They said that when this was built, it was second only to Radio City Music Hall.
Really? Have you gotten to hear it play? Have you ever heard it?
Only once.
You did hear it once?
In 1985, somebody climbed up to the choir loft and actually tried turning it on, and it's
You're
still turned
kidding.
on. That's the
Wow.
last time I ever heard
Wow.
it play. I don't think there's even power going to it anymore.
That's amazing.
It's an
That's
amazing
incredible.
piece, really amazing. Choir used to be up there, and they said they used to have opera and all sorts of things like that back in the day, and just filled this whole space. So you can imagine what it would have been like without the inner structure built.
Right.
We're still able to use this room.
You do?
We do. We start Palm Sunday. We gather the people here and process in with the palm.
Okay.
We light the fire at the Easter Vigil back here. And then after Mass on Sunday, we'll have fellowship back here.
Oh, okay.
we'll
So it's
set
like a
coffee
fellowship hall
and- yeah.
as well.
It's a really nice little space for people to gather.
What about the protective, I guess, coverings on all the stained glass? Is that what that's for, the plastic that I'm seeing?
It's mostly to keep the space somewhat warm, because in the winter we have some of the old radiators around the room. So we put up the plastic just to kind of keep the heat in here, and it's worked really nicely. But up top, you see the boarded windows.
Yeah,
The stained glass is still on the inside, and the protective boards are on the outside.
it's on the outside.
Yeah, but we kept the windows in place.
The architecture is spectacular.
Isn't
I mean,
it?
it really is. It's Gothic, it's majestic, it really is nice. So this was the front of the church.
This was the front
right?
of the church. The main entrance was
The
here.
main entrance. And then, so if you took this wall down, which is the box, you would just see all of this open space. From what I'm seeing up in the rafters, this whole thing was wide open. That is incredible.
Back at the turn of the century, when the parish there used to be a parish here, the seminary for the diocese, the St. John's University, which started here. There were 90 priests living in this complex. And all along the balconies, there were altars, because at that time there was no such thing as concelebrated masses, so every priest had to say his own mass. So they
Oh,
used to
really?
say mass
Oh,
in
wow.
the morning on all the altars around, both down here, up above, and behind where
Oh, you're
we were.
kidding.
They would have a tight schedule for rotation of masses so that they were able to say their daily
Oh,
mass.
it's amazing. Is it still open? Like, is there access up there?
Yes.
Or is it dangerous to go up now?
It's not
for-
dangerous. It's just not used.
What's the future for this area? Is this the same as what we saw on the other side? Like, the hope is intentionally to reconstruct and rebuild in
The
here?
hope
if
would be to
possible?
be able to reopen in some way.
To reopen.
The good thing is that we are able to use this space now, so the sense of it being here isn't lost to the people. When the church was first redone like this was just a storage area. Then we made the decision to clean it out about 4 years ago and started reusing the space
So it's now like a fellowship hall. You use it for.
and some liturgical services and things like that. When you get to see the parishioners here, meet them, and watch the church in action, you'd realize how vibrant this space really is. When you see people gather back here on Sunday after Mass and the fellowship and the spirit of what happens here, it's absolutely an amazing reality.
Really?
As we have a parish slogan that says
Which is?
spirit-driven, gospel living. We have it in English and in Spanish hanging in the space.
Spirit-driven, gospel living.
And it really sums up what the parish tries to be and how we try to live.
Sounds good. Father Joe, thank you. I appreciate it. This was great.
You're welcome, Nick. It's
And,
been great having you.
Sure, I look forward to the rebuilding process for you guys. Next time I come back,
It'll
who
be
knows,
different, you
right?
never know.
Be a whole new you. Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
St. John the Baptist, it's such an interesting church with a remarkable story. I really hope I get to see it restored one day. But I guess at the end of the day, what matters most is that God is present no matter what the size. The next church I'm off to is also going through a restoration phase. I'm off to Holy Innocents.